our relationship basically disappeared completely. Sarah always had some excuse about being tired or stressed about work. But then I'd see her post pictures on social media from these outings with Marcus where she looked happy and energetic. When I confronted her about it, she said she was going through something and needed space to figure out what she wanted. Then about 2 years ago, Sarah came home one evening looking nervous and excited at the same time. She kept pacing around our living room and checking her phone. Finally, she sat me down and said she had something important to tell me. My stomach dropped because I could tell from her expression that this wasn't going to be good news. Sarah told me she was pregnant. For about half a second I felt this rush of joy because this was something we'd wanted for so long. But then I realized we hadn't been intimate in over a month and the timing didn't make sense. That's when Sarah started talking really fast about how she'd made some mistakes and had been seeing Marcus and how she was sorry but she needed to be honest now that she was pregnant. She said she'd been having an affair with Marcus for about 3 months and that they'd gotten careless a few times. I asked if she wanted to work things out and suggested we get a paternity test to figure out the situation because despite everything I still loved her and wanted to try to save our relationship. But then Sarah said something that completely floored me. She said she didn't think we needed a paternity test because she had this deep certainty that the baby was mine. When I asked her how she could be so sure, she said she could feel it in her soul. She said that even though she'd been with Marcus physically, she'd realized that our connection was much deeper and more meaningful and that the baby was meant to be ours. She said when she found out she was pregnant, she'd had this spiritual awakening where she realized that all the problems in our relationship had just been tests to make us stronger. She said the universe was giving us this baby as a sign that we were meant to be together and that Marcus had just been a distraction to help her appreciate what we had. I told her that was completely insane and that feelings don't determine paternity. But Sarah got really defensive and said I didn't understand because I wasn't as spiritually aware as she was. She said when you have a true soul connection with someone, you just know things on a deeper level that science can't explain. At this point I was furious because she was talking like she was some enlightened being while basically telling me I was too simple-minded to understand her mystical insights. I told her we absolutely needed to get a paternity test because I had a right to know if I was going to be a father. But Sarah refused. She said paternity tests were just a way for people who lacked faith to avoid trusting their intuition. She said she knew with complete certainty that I was the father and that getting a test would be insulting to the spiritual bond we shared. She said Marcus had agreed that the baby was probably mine and that he was stepping back to let us focus on our family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My girlfriend of 5 years was telling me she'd cheated with my best friend, gotten pregnant, and was now claiming mystical knowledge about who the father was while refusing to get an actual test. When I pointed out that she could be wrong and Marcus might actually be the father, she just smiled and said her intuition was never wrong about important things. That's how our relationship ended.